the main thing is that sound, that high-pitched sound that it does. That's the sound that you want. And again, that hen cadence and that hen yelp, even though the pitch of this is real high-pitched, and that's really what kind of ignites the gobbler sometimes to gobble on. And you don't know from day to day, from hunt to hunt, what the particular turkey that you're messing with may like. And a lot of times it may be something different than what they're hearing. If you're in a hunt, say you're in a hunting club, and there's a lot of people hunting in there, probably 9 out of 10 of the guys hunting in the hunting club are using mouth calls. Might have a box, might have a slate of that, but they blowing a mouth call. Well, them turkeys, they hear the mouth calls every day. They tend to be less effective. That's when I like things that are different. The tube, the wing bone, the trumpet, the yelper.
A lot of hunters just use the tube for a locator, and you can call them right to the gun with the tube, and they're deadly.
Turkey hunting will humble you, because by the time you, just like me or him, either one, by the time we think we're getting this thing figured out and we're getting pretty good at it, you'll find out that you can get humbled real fast, and on certain years you can really get humbled. You know what I'm saying? And when you do that, it's just like coaching football. You have to stick to your guns and do what you know is successful and correct and right, because just like last year I told you, y'all enjoy this right here, because it don't always happen like this, just like I told you, like this. But you just enjoy that. And I'm going to shut up and let y'all get your stuff. Well, I might want to go turkey hunting this evening.
Well, for the audience, so everyone watching, listening to the podcast, we have Coach Ron Waters back on the podcast. Super excited to have you back on, Coach. And you're a big facilitator for this because we've got your friend, Mr. Bo Smith, on here as well. Coach, I know you speak very highly of Bo. And one thing I wanted to start us off with, again, 2 old school turkey hunters here from the great state of Alabama. Coach, how do you know Bo, and how long have y'all been hunting together and known each other?
I guess me and Bo got to know one another close to 40-some years ago. He was a caller in some of the contests that we had around. We had one here in Randolph County. They had one in Clay County. And he called in some of the competitions. I called in some of the competitions. And when you got to where you wasn't very good at that, they made a judge out of it. And so me and him ended up judging some contests together. But he had some, his folks played ball over to Ashland. And, of course, I coached over here and we played them. We just got to be mutual friends through turkey hunting and turkey calling contests and sports. That's basically the way we got to know one another.
Talk about it every day.
Yeah, turkey hunting. You can build some amazing friendships when it comes to turkey hunting. And also you can lose some friendships. So one thing I'd love to kind of get into, Mr. Smith, is first off, I want to talk about what you're wearing right now, because I think you were telling us earlier, this is kind of like your normal hunting get-up, right?
This is all I got. This is what I wear, yeah. In my pants, I wear these pants. I don't, I'm not I guess I'm really old school. But, just more traditional. Don't tote a lot of stuff with me. Well, you're talking, you got pre-70 years old and post-70 years old, and it's different. And just got started wearing this, and it just does the job. I think being still is more important than what you got on.
Absolutely.
Well said.
Stillness, patience, persistence, and position. All comes. We're going to talk about some 3 Ps again, Coach.
Perseverance.
And perseverance. Yeah, perseverance.
Ain't that a great word? Perseverance. That sounds great.
I'm going through my perseverance right now. So you got to have a lot of this turkey season. But Bo, I want to get into knowing a little bit more about you and your upbringing. How were you raised in the outdoors, like hunting and fishing?
All my life. Of course, we didn't have turkeys back when I was coming on. You just you grabbed your shotgun, you went hunting, squirrel, rabbit, whatever jumped up. My dad was a great hunter. Now he's had the patience. My dad was I guess that's where I got patience from. Was him. He sat all day and took him turkey hunting. Took him turkey hunting one time, and he'd never been turkey hunting in his life. And I dropped him off on the side of the mountain up there and said, I'll be back. It was pouring down rain, and he'd never been. And I come back and got him about 10:30, 11 o'clock. He's drawed up under a pine tree up there, and that's the only time he ever went turkey hunting. He'd had enough of that. So them boys dropped me off and didn't come back and get me. They said they probably sitting up there in the truck somewhere, but we wasn't. But that's how he looked at it. But I got started turkey hunting in 1969. I went turkey hunting first time. Wasn't a lot of turkeys around. I mean, you can kill turkeys. I've killed them in the city limits of Ashland. I can hear a truck stopping at the red light in town but you either had to go out on the mountain or out around toward Antioch, that area. And there was a pastor come in here. He had a reputation, turkey hunter. He come from Walnut Grove down Clark County, and Brother Kenneth Henson was his name, and he moved to Sylacauga, and he stayed over there a year or two, and like I said, he had a reputation, and then he come to the First Baptist Church in Ashland, and he realized that I liked to hunt, and so he said, hey, Bo said, come up, said, be up at the house about 4:30 Saturday morning. I said, I'll take you turkey hunting. Man, I couldn't stand myself, I said, this preacher is going to take me off, call me up a turkey. And didn't have a turkey call, so I run up Clay Hardware there in town and scratched around back there and found a Lynch box call. I think I paid $8 for it. I'm not real sure. But anyway, I bought it, went down there and called on it a little bit. So 4:30 Saturday morning, I was sitting there, and we loaded up, and he had hunted out of old green Volkswagen. And I couldn't stand myself. I was just excited, this preacher we're going to go off. He's going to call me up a turkey, I'm going to kill it. And so we went out to where we left out and went out, hit this dirt road out, kind of northwest part of the county there. And we're going down this dirt road, and it's pitch black dark. And he just pulls up right in the middle of the road, stopped, turned the motor off. And he said, you get out right here. What's going on? I'm going to go hunting, but you're going to take me hunting, And I'll never forget it as long as I live. I got out, of course, and had an old single barrel shotgun. Got out, and it's pitch black dark. And the last thing, I can see it today just like it was 56 years ago. The last thing I seen was them two little round taillights going around that curve down there and left me standing in the middle of the road. And he told me, go up that old road bed right there. Said, you'll hear one gobble. And I did, and I heard one. I sat down on a log, scratched around on a box call, but it ain't doing good. He come back and get me about 9:30, but I'll never forget it. That was my first experience turkey hunting. And, I got to think about it. He done me a lesson. And I kind of took that to heart. Turkey hunting is by yourself. I mean, you got to learn. You got to learn from your mistakes, and it's a growth. Like I said, I've been doing it 56. This is my 56th year.
That's amazing, and I can't imagine back before cell phones, before OnX, and all the technology that we have today just being dropped off, telling you walk up there, go try to beat around and see if you could scratch up a turkey.
but I was real excited, but and still am. And he was a good turkey hunter. He was in a class by himself at that time. Matter of fact, this collar right here, excuse me. A few years ago, I took my wife out there and showed her the first place I went turkey hunting, and there was I was standing there and I pointed up the old road bed that went, and there was a beech tree there, and I had a machete laying in the back of the truck, and I chopped that beech tree down, and I made of course I've never used it, but got his name wrote on it, and I made a turkey tube collar out of that piece of beech.
Now, also, back then when you first got started hunting, turkey hunting specifically, you said your dad was a hunter, but he wasn't a turkey hunter back then. What did y'all grow up actually hunting as a kid?
Well, just squirrels and rabbits, and they moved. Deer come in here. Matter of fact, they dropped them off in the 50s over on Tallapoosa River, Randolph County, and they started just working their way north, and we started turkey hunting. I started deer hunting, in about 63, and killed my first deer in January 1st, 1966.
What were you hunting with? What was the weapon of choice back
Double
then?
barrel.
Double barrel buckshot?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he was a good hunter. Like I said, he's patient. I mean, he sit forever. He just and it was great.
Now, back
We
then, how long did it take you to kill your first turkey? You said you heard one the first time you went out. How long did it take you?
I first time I went turkey hunting was in spring of '69, and I killed one 25th day of March 1970. It was first turkey I killed. Didn't know what I was doing, but I had that old box call. And went out. There was a place that was some pines, some big timber pines, met some hardwoods, and I just sat down there and I scratched out about 4. It got light, and I scratched out about 4 yips on that old box call, and kept sitting there, and it just the hair on my neck. He was there. I'm talking about, and he gobbled the first time, and I looked. I couldn't see him nowhere. Look, couldn't see him, and it was a big old pine. It was that big around. He was standing behind that pine, and he gobbled 4 times before I killed him, and he'd run his head out behind and you could see his head come out behind the pine, and when he'd go back, you couldn't see him, and so. I kept sitting there, and I'd scratched, and finally I said, well, and this is one thing also I want to mention. What a person needs to learn is learn how to shoot left-handed. I killed my first turkey left-handed. And I got that, when he drawed that head back, I got my gun over my left hand, got up on my knee, and finally he took a couple steps out, and I killed him. And he gobbled 4 times. I didn't call but 1 time to him. And I don't know whether he's answering me or just happened to be there, But
Also,
25th day of March,
20. And it's amazing still even.
1970.
Yeah, remember the date. That's amazing.
I remember all kinds of dates. Now I'm good with dates, but it was great. And then the 70s, on through the 70s, it was learning. Kill turkey every once in a while, or 3 or 4. 5 during the 70s, but finally in the 80s, I finally learned how to kill them. In the 80s and 90s, now that's the 80s and 90s to me, that's the heyday of turkey hunting. Coach probably tell you the same thing, but we lived through all those years where if you heard a turkey gobble, you'd had a good day. And in the 80s and 90s, we got started. Kill him, and of course we was younger and we could climb those ridges and all.
Now, also, you were talking about that pastor that kind of quote unquote took you turkey hunting for the first time.
Yeah.
How old was he roughly when you met him, when he took you
he's probably
turkey hunting?
40. He was from, well, I'm guessing 40, you know.
And was he always a turkey hunter? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he come from Clark County. He was turkey hunter when he come here. Of course, Clark County had a lot of turkeys back then. Marengo and Clark.
Did you ever get a chance to hunt with him, and what was his hunting style like based off what he told you or what you saw?
I never hunted with him other than that one time, and he dropped me off on. But he used to mouth call. First mouth calls I'd ever seen. And matter of fact, I got one of the CB Ellison made him some mouth calls. That's what he used, and he had a little old slate. I guess it may have been a little old scratch.
Chet Slate.
And that's what he told you. But mouth call basically, and he gave me my first mouth caller. And he didn't give me no instructions. Says put it in your mouth and don't take it out till you learn how to use it.
Was there anybody else back then that you did get the opportunity to actually go and hunt in the woods with?
My uncle Noe. Now we started about the same time. He's 10 years older than me, but we started hunting about the same time, and we hunted a lot together, but we didn't hunt a lot together. In other words, we would leave and go together in the morning. We'd get to where we was going, and he'd go his way, and I'd go my way. But we hunted a lot, and he's a good turkey hunter. My Uncle Noah was a good turkey hunter. He had used the old cedar box call, and but he was good. And they was probably at that time in the early 70s. You could probably count the turkey hunters in Clay County on your fingers. I mean, they wasn't that many. There was Mr. Horn, Matt Horn. He was a turkey hunter. And I mentioned Pete White and his brother. I believe his brother Si, Warren Lacey, good turkey hunters, old timey, just killers. And Winford Carr was Winford. I run up on him, and he run up on him one evening. He pulled over on the side of the road, and I got out and was talking to him, and he had about a 4-inch piece of cane stuck in his overall pocket where your pencil holder. He had a piece of cane, and that's what he used at that time. I think he used box call some too, but just a 4-inch piece of cane. He used it like a trumpet or a tube or whatever. Not a tube, but a
Wing bone.
But it's just a trial and error. I mean, over a period of 56 years, trials and a lot of errors.
And I want to talk about that because I want to learn from both of you guys a lot of hard lessons learned through turkey hunting. But before we get to that, I do want to know a little bit more of what were the turkey hunters, the handful that you knew back then, wasn't many back then, like you had mentioned. What were their personalities like? Were they very tight-lipped and wouldn't tell you much of anything?
Yeah, you seen a turkey track, you wiped it out. It was kind of a secret, which that was kind of what was alluring to it. Was it's a kind of a secret society type deal. I mean, and I still don't talk a lot about turkeys, but they were just hunters.
And with that, again, like the secretness, and we've heard that from a handful of the other guys that we've had on that's been hunting for a long time, that have a lot of experience, that a lot of those guys that were quote-unquote old-timers when they were young were very much like that, weren't the ones that really tell you something. They would show you, and then you had to learn on your own why you went maybe hunting with them if you had the opportunity. But you mentioned your uncle. Was your uncle always a turkey hunter, or
No, we started about the same time.
Okay.
About the same year. Like I said, he was 10 years older than me, but I was like 17 when I started, and but we didn't have a lot of turkeys. I mean, if you turkey hunted, you had to go out in up north and part of the county or mountains, and then they just kind of worked their way on down. And like I said, we got them everywhere now. Of course, they're different turkeys. We got turkeys back then, if you killed your turkeys were 17, 18 pound turkeys. I mean, mountain turkeys. And if you killed a 19 pounder, man, papers write an article about you if they found out about it. I mean, 19-pound turkey was, 18 was big turkey. But it has to do a lot with in those situations, your acre crop in the fall has got a lot to do with your turkey. Some people believe that and some don't, but your acre crop in the fall has got a lot to do with your spring turkey hunting and the size of turkeys. Other than those crew, of course, I got to know Coach later on, and we've had a lot of talks, a lot of calls, been all over the world together.
I want to ask also about your upbringing. What woodsmanship skills did you learn maybe as a young kid that transferred to turkey hunting, but also what were some that you learned that you only learned through turkey hunting?
Skills that I learned.
Woodsmanship skills.
Just being out there. I mean, there's no substitution for the experience in the wood. Just being out there is more than anything else. Just go. And it'll take care of everything else will take care of itself. It's experience, and you just go as often as you can and take heed to what you learn, what not to do next time, what works, what don't. And but as far as woodsman skills, we done a good bit of deer hunting in the fall, and when I got started fall turkey hunting, we would make deer drives in the morning, and most time around dinner, deer hunters would get ready to play out a little bit, and we'd all gather back up, and I'd pay kind of attention to, they like to talk, and well, I didn't see nothing but seen a drove of turkeys, and okay, and I know where he was at. And, we'd disperse, and everybody go home and dress the deer, whatever they're doing, and most of the time they're done scattered. I mean, they done busted up when I got there. And but just being out there, I done all the driving. Me and my Uncle Noe, same guy, we done most all the driving. And just being out in the woods, covering ground, and seeing a lot of different stuff.
So it's a lot of learning to train and the habitat you were hunting played a factor for turkey hunting because you knew a lay of the land and probably where turkeys wanted to be.
Yeah. But when they'd tell you where the turkeys was at, and you could go back in there that evening, and I mean, like I said, they'd generally already be busted up, and if they wasn't, they was around that area. Fall turkeying's tough. It's of course, it's going to be, it's getting harder as the years go by, but you got to do a little walking, fall turkey hunting. But, and I got started bow hunting. I bow hunted good. I got a good wife, and she's let me hunt. And,
That's a big
we've been
piece of the
married,
puzzle right there.
Yeah, 53 years. We've been married 53 years, and Coach's wife he'll tell you the same thing. We're fortunate.
Coach, did you ever fall turkey hunt? I don't know if we asked you that first time.
Yeah, man, that's where I started.
Yeah.
I killed my first turkey, fall turkey hunt with Doug Camp, 73. But I did as much fall turkey hunting and then spring turkey hunting too. But you just learn so much about them. Learning how to read sign, tell the difference between gobbler scratching, hen scratching. Where they, find the food sources in the fall, where they're going to be. Certain years, when there's good acorn crop, they like to stay in the woods like last year. Mm-hmm. And this time, not any acorns much in the woods. And they're moving around a lot more, trying to find them something to eat, just like me and you would be. If we didn't have anything to eat, we'd be out there hunting. Yep. I wanted to mention one fact that he talked about, the man he talked about over at Preacher Henson. The man that gave me my first tube, I told you C.B. Ellis from Sylacauga. Well, Preacher Henson was in Sylacauga before he came to Ashland.
Yeah.
they were good friends. And when CB died, his daughter gave all of CB's turkey hunting stuff to Preacher Henson. And he was down in Groveville, Alabama at the time. And about that time is when I broke my tube that he gave me, and I was trying to get another one, and she had already given all his stuff away. But I was smart enough, I say smart enough, but anyway, to take that tube and measure the length and diameter of it the best I could before it was broke in pieces. So when I got to start making them out of wood, I wanted to make them pretty close to that size because, CB felt like that was the right size and made the best sound, And, of course, he gave me one of those diaphragms like he did him, one of the first ones I had, But like we said, you couldn't go to the store and find calls like you can today.
Penn's Woods was one of the first to start making mouth collars. I was one of the first.
I got to ask, because this just jumped right in my head as soon as you said it. How do you tell the difference between hen and gobbler scratch?
Okay, usually when a hen's scratching, she's going to scratch 3 times. 1, 2, 3, and usually they'll peck. And Saturday afternoon, Friday afternoon, I had my granddaughter with me. We sat in the blind up here with my doctor friends, and 2 hens came out and came by us. One went right up in the woods there, and that's the first thing she started doing was scratching. And I was watching, and I was telling my granddaughter, 1, 2, 3. And gobblers usually, when they walk around, in most cases, they're gonna make a single lick, and it's usually a little bit bigger. So when you see I call it a lick, you can tell it's a gobbler lick. It's usually gonna be the size of a basketball or bigger. They like to scratch. Gobblers like to scratch around the edges of old road beds, and it's just another thing like being around Doug Kemp and learning how to read sign. We talked about, we talked about the 3 P's, but 3 ways you hunt turkeys are sight, sound, and sign. You see them, you hear them, and you can see the sign that they leave, whether it be tracks or droppings or in the case of scratching or strut marks or whatever it might be.
Gobblers like to scratch around the base of the tree too. You see they'll scratch around the base of trees a lot more often than hens will. So if you see around the base of a tree where it's tore up, most times it's gobbler.
In the days when we could hear good, or when I could hear good in Doug Camp, you could be around, you could actually listen to turkeys scratching in the woods, maybe in a little swag right next to you or something, you getting ready to bust them up. What are you going to do? But you can listen, and when you hear that, shoo, 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 that's that 3 licks that I always used to say. And if you hear one over here every now and then go, shoo, like a single lick, you almost think that's a gobbler. You didn't have to see it, and you might be right, and you might be wrong, but a lot of times you'll be right.
So outside of turkey calls and a shotgun itself, my favorite piece of gear I've ever bought when it comes to turkey hunting is a red dot sight. And my new favorite is the Vortex Viper enclosed red dot. As you can see, this sight is very, very rugged, which is great because I tend to break things. I don't think I'll be able to break this sight, but if I did manage to break it, it's okay because Vortex has their VIP warranty, so they'll replace it, no questions asked. But this thing is built like a tank. Another reason I like it is because it is made for a shotgun that's already drilled and tapped. This gun was already drilled and tapped, and so this is how the Viper comes out of the box. It comes with everything you need to mount it, and literally all you do is just screw it into the top of your shotgun. It takes 5 seconds. It's super, super easy. No special tools required. So to check it out, along with everything else that Vortex offers, head on over to vortexoptics.com, or you can just hit the link in the description of this show.
Hey guys, it's Jake from the podcast. Got a quick tip for you when it comes to turkey calling, especially if you're a newer turkey hunter that's not as experienced, and that is using covert calling that we learned from Coach Ron Waters last year out of Alabama. And that's what helped us kill 9 birds in Alabama between 3 of us, and again, a lot of those on public land. You don't have to be a great caller like I mentioned, and all it is super soft calling at like a 20 to 30, maybe 40% volume level when it comes to calling. I really like a friction call to do that, doing soft clucks, purrs, and yelps. So So working that in along with scratching the leaves worked extremely well for me last year, along with my brother Thomas and then even Andrew. So again, covert calling can really work for you. It's also nice to have a call that you have a lot of control over, especially at lower volume levels. And that's where the Dixie Hen custom ceramic pot call from Houndstooth Game Calls really works out great for me. I love this call. Again, it helped me kill 8 birds in Alabama, or be part of 8 birds dying in Alabama, 4 from me and 4 from Thomas. Then Andrew also killed one using the Dixie Hen custom ceramic. If you want to check it out, go to houndstoothgamecalls.com and use the code SOUTHERN25 for a discount on your order. Really love these calls, guys. I think you'll enjoy it too this spring.
So it might be the off season, but we're still always thinking about whitetails. And if you're looking to get more mobile this fall and you're looking at saddle setups, the 2 most common designs you're gonna see are a single panel design or a double panel design. They both have their advantages and disadvantages. A single panel design is gonna be more comfortable right out of the box, while a double panel design is gonna be much more adjustable and customizable to your fit. We always say on the podcast, saddles are kind of like boots. Different people are going to like different things. As a general rule of thumb, I found that heavier set guys typically like a single panel more than they like a double panel. But other than that, it's just really a matter of preference. I personally use both of these saddles. This is the Method 2 from Latitude, and this is the Lone Star from Latitude. I will say that the Method 2 is really nice because it's a 2-panel design. It's almost like you have a built-in back band that'll take a little bit of pressure off your back when you're sitting down. But if you're just getting into saddle hunting and you want something that's extremely comfortable right out of the box, the Lone Star is going to be your go-to. It has an advanced hip pinch reduction system in it, so right out of the box, this is going to be very comfortable, and you're not going to have the hip pinch issues that a lot of people have when they first get into saddle hunting. So if you want to be more mobile this fall, check out latitudeoutdoors.com to see these 2 saddles and a bunch of other mobile hunting gear. We've enjoyed them a lot, and I think you're going to enjoy them too. All right, guys, we're out here today. Got a little in the field tip for you. We're scouting this fresh clear cut. I think this was cut sometime in the spring. We identified this using onX's recent imagery layer. This image is about 2 weeks old. They update this every 2 weeks, so you're getting brand new satellite images. So we were able to find this beautiful clear cut. I mean, look at this. This looks like where a lot of big bucks get killed in the South in rifle season. So we're actually using this tool along with the topo map to walk and look at this low spot over here to see if we can find a good rifle setup for when the rut comes in a couple weeks. So we're gonna walk over there and check that out. In the meantime, if you want to access this or any of the other features available with the onX Elite membership, use the promo code SOUTHERN and you can get 20% off.
It's funny you bring that up because we were talking earlier before we got started about me missing that Osceola earlier this spring. And they were actually, I heard them, they never gobbled. I say they, there's one gobbler and 3 or 4 jakes with them. They never gobbled, but I could hear them scratching. And their scratching was just like what you're saying, like the one loud, drawn out. It wasn't like like you would with a hen, I guess what you're saying. It was, and it was throwing me off because I'd hear it. And I'm like, I think it's a turkey. But most of the time, again, if I'm on a drove of hens or something, or a group of hens, you hear that multiple scratching, that three scratch kind of repetitiveness. But it's funny you brought that up because that's exactly what I heard when I called, and they ended up breaking, come strutting in, and I just whiffed on one of them, but whiffed on the longbeard. But they were doing that exact same thing you were talking about. So that's very interesting to hear that. Okay. Now also, I do want to get into the 3 Ps again. I think it's just a good reiterator for us.
Wait, before we move off that,
Yeah.
I just got to say one thing because we've been talking about fall turkey hunting a little bit. For people who don't know or who are unfamiliar, when you say go bust them up, what do you mean by that?
Well, you act like a maniac a lot of times. If you hear them scratching and you get up above them. And I never did do a lot of people say shoot your gun, but I don't shoot but one time. So, I run down into them and holler, scream, and if they go every which way, you're okay. But if they all fly off in pretty well one direction, you might as well go try to do it again, and bust them up, and then generally get pretty close to where you busted them up, and sit down. Now we're talking young gobblers, or young gobblers mostly, but they're gonna come back. I mean, if old gobblers, it may be next week when they get back together. But young gobblers, young turkeys, about 30 minutes, an hour, they're gonna be getting lonesome. They're gonna try to get back together. And so just find you a good place and sit down where you busted them up, and wait a little while and start calling, kikiing, which these are good. These are my favorite fall type call, the tube. I like the tube in the fall. Well, I like it in spring too, but fall's good. Kiki on it and cluck. But just sitting probably 30, 45 minutes, they're going to start trying to get back together. That's just their nature. And that's basically what, busting them up and scaring the fire out of them.
Intentionally spook the turkeys, run them all off, and then
Yeah.
call them back to you.
Now, young turkeys now, like I say, old turkeys, you can, old gobblers, they're a different animal. I mean, sometimes they'll get back together and then you may want to come back tomorrow and try to call them up. And they don't do a lot of vocalization. The old gobblers don't. They'll, in the fall, they may cluck a few times. Or,
You was talking about the gobbler cluck last time y'all did the interview with me. That's what old gobblers like to do that a lot
Yeah.
in the fall. Real quick, and I don't want to interrupt that, but in Doug Camp's book that he wrote, Turkey Hunting Spring and Fall, there was a lot of stories in there that the editor edited out, just like y'all edit out stuff. They edit out the different stories. But early on, when I was hunting with him one day, and he always told me, if you catch them scratching, go ahead and run off in there and bust them up. Don't give them a chance to get away from you or whatever without scattering them. So I was listening to these turkeys scratching down in the hollow there, and I said, well, Doug told me, run off in there and scatter them. So I get my gun and I take off running, and about a few 15 or 20 yards down there, there's a barbed wire fence in the woods, an old barbed wire fence. And I happened to see it, and I just hurtled over the top of it, running down in the top of them. And the turkeys get to scattering all over the place, and the big gobbler comes up flying by me. And of course, I'm in my younger days, I'm like shooting birds. I shoot at him, I miss him. And I didn't realize this, but Doug Camp was on the next ridge above me, and he watched the whole thing going on. And he shot at the same gobbler, and he usually didn't miss either, but he missed that day too. But the fact that he saw me run, and he said, I saw you when you jumped that barbed wire fence, and went right on down there on the top of him and did exactly what I told you to do. But that particular story was one that got left out of the book, and I always laugh about that and think about that.
Man, my brain kind of draws that back to spring hunting too, because it's kind of funny. We're so careful in the spring, and we don't want to spook the bird, obviously, but it's like in the fall, you just run down there in them and scatter them off. Do you take anything from that into your spring hunting where, if you maybe bump a gobbler or someone bumps him, you try to get around on him or anything like that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Tell me more.
Now, let me say this. In the springtime, if you do this accidentally, and we talked about, you don't try to, call him up and scare him or whatever. But accidentally, a lot of times, just like you talk about, you're easing around and the turkeys see you, and it may be a hen and some gobblers, and the gobbler flies off over in this direction, the hen flies off over in this direction. They kind of naturally separate. A lot of people think, well, this hunt's over with. Well, as far as calling in a gobbling turkey, it may be, but as far as calling that gobbler back, it's you've already ahead of the game, really, because you've got them separated. I remember many years ago, one day in the first day of the season, I was going in a place I knew where the turkeys was at, and as I came through there, I was coming around the edge of a green field, and all at once up in front of me here gets about a dozen hens get up and fly off, and they all there. And the gobbler wasn't in the bunch and didn't get up. And I'm sitting to myself there, and I said, I think that gobbler's got to be right here with them hens. And he didn't know what happened. He could have been a coyote, scattered them turkeys. It could have been anything, but he didn't actually see me. And instead of me walking on over the top of the hill where they kind of got up from, I said, I believe I'm just going to crawl right up here to the edge of the field. I'm going to get me a seat. I'm going to see what happens. And sure enough, I crawled on up the top of the hill there, sat down there and just gave it a little time right there. And then I started doing a little covert calling, some soft hen calling. And guess what? Next thing I know, I heard him. Doom. He was drumming. And what had happened, I'd separated him accidentally from his hens, but it ended up killing the turkey because I didn't just walk on over there. I kind of, figured that he was there. So I used that to my advantage.
Yeah, covert calling, baby. Hey, Jacob got a bachelor's degree in the Ron Waters School of Covert Calling last year. It worked out good.
Let me tell you, nothing works all the time. We know that. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes, like you said, you think after so well, I should have called louder to the turkeys or whatever it is, and all like that. But I just feel like as the season, especially in Alabama around here, where the season wears on, less and less actual hen talk that you hear in the woods at daylight or whatever it is. Now they may be calling a lot of it, but it's soft calling and 30 yards, 40 yards in the woods.
you can't hear it.
And if you hear like I do now, or like Bo does here, well, because of all this shooting and all been around there, you don't hear them, but they're there. And they're communicating.
The soft stuff ain't like it used to be as far as hearing. I can hear a gobble as far as I ever did, I believe. But walking in the leaves, which that usually turns you on when you hear them walking in the leaves, that gets you fired up. And of course, I never have been able to hear the drumming. I can hear the, but I can't hear the drum. I never have been able to hear that good. But drumming, and if I hear turkey drumming, buddy, I better back the hammer. I mean, he's close.
Yeah, speaking of backing the hammer, by the way, you've got your turkey gun right here. I want to hear about this turkey gun that you've got. I've heard that it's claimed many gobblers.
Well, it's got a few. I bought this gun about, I put some oil on it there. 30 years ago, Billy McCoy, y'all probably heard of Billy. He had a string of pawn shops. And I bought this gun from his pawn shop, gave him $30 for it. Got it home and shot it a time or two, and it's shooting low. Shooting about, in other words, if you aim halfway down the neck, you're going to feel you'll kill the turkey, but you're going to feel the breast full of shot. So I figured, well, I went on, so 3 or 4 years there, I just aimed at his eyeball. I aimed at his, when he come up, I just aimed for his eyeball and then put my shot pattern right where I wanted it. That rocked on there, and I decided, well, I'm gonna correct this. Me, a friend of mine now, coaches Purvis Robinson. He was good with gunsmith. He was just he was great. And I'd watched him straighten barrels. He took old model Winchester Model 12 and he'd make it shoot right. So I broke it down, and it's shooting about that low. I broke it down, and I got a dogwood tree right there behind my shop. I took it out there and had 2 limbs there, and so I stuck the barrel between the. Now you can't do it with one's got a rib on it, but if plain barrel. Anyway, I got that barrel in there and got it turned just like I wanted it, and I bent down on that thing like that, and I pulled it out, and that barrel was like that. It was, I done bent it like this. The metal in these, that's pretty soft, and I bent that thing, and so I said, golly. So I turned it over, put it back in the limb, and pulled it down again. And I didn't go hard as far, and put it back together. And it didn't look half bad. And I put it back together and shot it. And buddy, where that bead's at right there, it's 2 3/4 inch. And I don't shoot Magnum shells. I shoot field load, 3 1/4 drams of 3 1/4 drams, 1 1/4 ounce, number 7.5 shot. When I shoot field load, and it don't hurt your shoulder near as bad.
So you're shooting a dove load pretty much at turkeys.
Yeah, it's 3 1/4.
Yeah.
And now this year I did find all these boys talking about these number 9. He shoots 9s. Well, I shoot 2 3/4, and I can't buy none of them TSS, and I probably wouldn't buy them if they're about $70 a buck. And I mean, I can buy $6. I can buy 25, and it kills them just dead. All you want to do is hit them in the neck. And but I found a box of Fiocchi. Ain't that how you pronounce it?
Fiocchi.
Fiocchi, number 9, 2 3/4 number 9s, and I bought them, and that's what I'm shooting this year. Them Fiocchi number 9s, but I shot.
He's
7
1
9.
for 1. He's pulled the trigger one time.
Yeah, I shoot one time. I mean, I don't tote a lot of shells around with me, but
What kind of gun is that?
it's a J.C. Higgins.
And hold it
Hold
up,
it up
Bo.
just a
It's
little bit.
J.C. Higgins model 1011, and this right here used to be plastic. Now, I modify everything though. This used to be a 1/4 inch higher too. When I put it in here, when I put down on the cheek down, I want to be looking right down the barrel. I don't have to do none of this. So I took a wood rasp and cut this off about a 1/4 inch to where when I'm sitting there and I put it up here, I'm looking right down the barrel. And this part right here, the plastic, broke plastic, it had a plastic guard on it, and I broke it. And I thought, what am I going to do? And I went to hardware, and this is a hinge, door hinge for like a kitchen door hinge. And I bought it, cut it off, kind of bent it around, and that's what that is. Put me some JB weld on it and screw, and it hangs in there. It shoots right where you
And he said J.C. Higgins, and now you guys probably don't know this, but J.C. Higgins was a name brand that Sears and Roebuck sold.
Now, also, it's a fixed choke gun. What's the constriction on that gun? Do you know?
It says full.
This is full fixed choke.
That's a 12 gauge, right?
It's 12 gauge, 2 3/4 inch.
Okay. That's all.
I've been hunting with it for about 30 years now.
Now, again, you've been using field loads in it. What was your what has been your comfort range back with your older
35
show?
yard. I want to kill him 30, 35 yards. And I want to set up. Setting up has a lot to do with killing. I want to be, if possible, I want to be above him where he's got to come up, and I want to be able to see most people want to, that's human nature, I guess. They want to see 100 yards down the holler. I want to see about 30, 35 yards as far as I want to see. And then when he runs his head up, you eating fried turkey breast then. And, but that's about now I've killed him 40. Sometimes, I mean, it's kind of chancey, but I don't shoot them. These new guns they got, boy, they claim and kill them out there at 60 yards, but judging distance, most time they may be shooting at 75, and they wound them, run them off codes, get good meal. But about 30, 35 yards is what I want to shoot. That's how far I want to see. I don't,
Yeah.
See, I love that. I love that gun. And you're talking about position, which is part of our 3 Ps. I want to get in that with you, Mr. Bo, and get a better understanding of more so the woodsmanship of how you like to set up. I mean, you already kind of talked about getting higher up above them if you can and only be able to see that 30, 35 yard range where he's got to pop his head up. But with a gun like that, I would say a lot of our audience, there's so many new guns now and all these, really fancy chokes and TSS shot, expensive loads and stuff, where guys are wanting to, put more pelts down range, shoot further, all that kind of stuff. But you still have your gun that you've loved to use over the last 30 years, your single shot 12 gauge, 2 3/4 inch gun. Do you think, I know you were probably a great turkey hunter before you even got that gun, but do you think that with a gun like that and knowing your limited range, it makes you a better hunter of how you like to set up where you're going to kill him dead by the time he gets to you?
maybe so. Maybe so. I think it's more just more involved in the setting up than just the limits of your gun. Because if you can see 100 yards down a holler down through there, and he's gobbling and he's looking up at holler and he don't see no hen, man. He gonna hang out down there and gobble. But if you get above him where he can't see, But I don't know if it makes you a lot more patient. I'm sure it does. As far as answering your question, making you a better hunter, yeah, patience, that's patience, perseverance, and enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is perseverance is great, but enthusiasm, a person got to have enthusiasm. He's got to keep on going. A lot of you turkey hunters, they'll knock off about 2 weeks into the season, they through hunting. But when you take I always said that you got two kind of people out there in the woods. You got people that hunt turkeys, and then you got turkey hunters. And people that hunt turkeys, you can tell them apart because after about 2 weeks they start dwindling, and you got everything to yourself in. And you see old turkey hunter, he's out there on the last day still going after him. You can say he's a turkey hunter. I mean, he still gets excited about it. And we do, don't we, Coach?
Yes, sir.
Coach, I don't think I've ever asked you, what was one of your guns you hunted with back in the day, and what do you hunt with now?
Well, that first turkey that I killed with my granddaddy's double barrel that he got killed with. Mm-hmm. And I had that, was going to think about bringing that up here today, but I didn't. Got sliced it out of the stock. After that, Doug Camp, they all shot Remington 1100 30-inch full choke plain barrels, not ventilated ribs. And one of their friends up there had got into turkey hunting and bought one and decided he didn't want to hunt anymore, so he wanted to sell it. And he wanted $175 for it, and I bought it. And I shot it for years and years and years. And Doug Camp and them got a man down in Newside, Alabama that would cut the barrels off from 30-inch to 24 inches. His name was Ray Chambers, and he put a force-in choke in it. So they convinced me to do the same thing with mine, and I did. And I had a little problem or two with that for a while till his friend Purvis Robinson, that was a gunsmith and a great turkey hunter.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the best turkey hunters that ever walked around over there in Clay County too, but he was a great gunsmith. He fixed it for me and got it where it was shooting right, and shot it for years. And finally the trigger housing started messing up on it, and he wanted me to order another one. So I found a Mossberg 9200, shot it for a while, and had a little problem with it, and they ended up buying this Stoker 20 gauge several years ago, and now these people are coming out with a TSS shot. So last 6-7 years I've been shooting that 20 gauge with that TSS shot over there. But
They do a good job.
oh yeah, but sad story about that those chokes that the man did down there. We didn't pattern shotguns in. I mean, I was shooting a shotgun that I'd been killing turkeys with, and he puts a choke in it, so I got it back, and he had a little homemade bead on the end of it. So first week of the season, I called a turkey up out there about 30 yards, and bam, he flies off. And I said, dadgummit, I don't know what I did. So rock on there, a few more days passed. I called up a second turkey. I put it on him, bam. He flies off. Well, I'm pretty frustrated, so I go over to Purvis Robinson's, and Purvis put that gun in a vise, and he shoots it, and it's shooting bad, high and left. And he says, Coach, I can't bend this barrel. He could bend the barrel. He said, I can't bend this barrel good enough to make it right. He said, you need to carry it back down there and make the man put you another choke in there. So I did, and he put me a second choke in there. But before I went back to the woods, carry it over to Purvis again. He puts it in the vise again. He shoots it. And it's still shooting a little high and left. But he said, I can fix this without, hurting it. And he did. He bent the barrel. And he put me an orange Ithaca sight on the end of it. And from then on, it was on like Donkey Kong. It was, when I pulled the trigger, it was a dead turkey. You know what I'm saying? So, anyway. But I enjoy shooting that 20 gauge now, and it's a whole lot easier to tote in the woods, and it don't hurt your shoulder and none of that good stuff. Like,
And them field loads don't hurt you.
and them guys, when we're shooting a 3-inch Magnum, a lot of them guys were shooting a 3.5, and I shot a 3.5 one time just at a turkey target. That thing like to knock my shoulder off. I don't care anything about doing that.
Well, kind of going into that, talk about the different experiences, the good, bad, and the ugly of turkey hunting. I want to know from both of you all, and Bo, I want to start with you, about some of the mishaps or mistakes made that were notable mistakes that you kind of learned from, but you made as a newer or greener turkey hunter, maybe in the 70s and kind of get into the 80s before you really get to killing turkeys a whole bunch.
Step out in the middle of a pasture, are they going to see you? I mean, if you step out, he going to see you, and stay in the wood, edge of the woods. That's one thing. Of course, there's, gosh, I'd have to think, but there's thousands more probably lessons learned. But matter of fact, that happened the other day. Rookie mistake, when you step out there, they're gonna see you, and their eyesight's phenomenal. Hearing. I don't know that they're that smart, but they're just cautious.
Nature's way of protecting them, eyesight and hearing. And people talk about it. If they were like a deer and could smell, you never would kill one. You know what I mean? And a deer, their eyesight is just average, but their sense of smell is phenomenal, and that's what keeps them alive. You know what I'm saying? So. Nature's got a way of protecting all kind of different wildlife from different means.
Well, Coach, what about you? Was there any lessons that kind of learned early on that were hard lessons learned as a newer turkey hunter, or just someone who hadn't killed a bunch of birds and had all that experience?
I think the biggest thing that early on, and a lot of times, and I've done this, and I feel this is important, but I do very little calling to a turkey in a tree. Now, when I say that, I mean, people talk about tree yelping, clucking, or fly down cackles and all this stuff and everything, but I found out I messed up more times calling to a turkey in a tree. Sometimes I got fooled and thought he was on the ground when all he was doing was changing positions on the limb, either facing me or going away from me, and I was fool, that he was out of the tree and on the ground. But I've made more mistakes calling to a turkey in a tree, being whatever it is, being a tree call, a cluck, or even yelping or whatever you're doing, because, you're just sending a message to him, that I'm the hen over here and he's used to that hen, walking up under him before he flies down out of the tree. And I think it makes them wary. I think it makes them uncomfortable. And I think it has a tendency to make them want to stay in the tree, or in this case, fly down in the other direction or not come in your direction. So I think I called early on a lot to the turkeys in the trees when I should have shut up. So now, very seldom do I call to one in the tree. Of course, ability to get around and get close enough to him in the tree now for me is hard. So I don't have to worry about that anymore. You know what I'm saying?
I call very little to them at all. I'm a little different. A lot of this you see on calling, you see on TV. I don't call a lot to them. I do a little tree calling while he's in the tree. Try to get him. Of course, now I try to position myself before it gets daylight. Now I'm liable to walk a half a mile. I worked in public job for 33 years, and I would go turkey. I call it turkey hunting. I would go hunting every morning before work, and I might hear one gobble in the morning, and I'd go back and I'd hear him in the morning. Well, that third morning, I'd get up at 3:30 instead of 4:30, and I'd be walking there, stumble around through the dark, and get in there in an hour before it gets light, and try to get as close to where I think he's going to be. And then when it gets daylight, I don't do a lot of owl hooting. I used to owl hoot, but I just kind of let things wake up on their own. And then I do what they call looking for squirrel beds. And when you're sitting there in the dark and it starts getting light, you go to looking for squirrel beds up in the trees, and sometimes it'll turn out to be once in a little while you see him fluffle up. And now I'll tree call a little to him in the tree, try to get him turned my way, and then I don't say anything else till he hits the ground. And then I hit him with a pretty sassy little yelp or something or other, maybe even a little cackle or something or other, and then I lay my gun on my knee and I shut up. And a lot of times that's all it takes, but sometimes he'll get out there about 50 yards, so when I'll give him a little 3-note yelp, just a little soft yelp, just about 3 notes, and he'll be on in a minute maybe. If I'm gonna kill him, he'll be there anyway.
And when you were saying look for squirrel nests or squirrel beds, you're talking about just looking for what looks like a squirrel nest up in a tree, but it's probably going to be, it might be a turkey.
It might be a turkey. But I get there in an instance like this. See, I know this turkey's there, but I just know the area's in, and I've walked in. I may, like Coach has done the same. He's told me experiences where he's walk in the middle of the night, to get to a turkey and get in there about an hour before it gets light. Ease in there, sit down, be real still. I've had them in the tree above my head. Droppings hit the ground, and you're afraid to look up. But then you get when it starts cracking light a little bit, you go to looking around and you look for squirrel beds that's possible turkeys.
Now, you got those calls around your neck. Could you give us a little demonstration of how you like to call to them? You talk about like a sassy yelp? Can
I just now I use mouth collar too. Mm-hmm. This right here is this is one of my homemade calls. That's old Delilah. It's made out of a piece of bamboo. And that's Coach's call here. I'll probably mess up.
Pressure's on.
I don't do that a lot, but that's a little cutting. Coach is a lot better at yipping than I am.
That sounded good to me.
Yeah, it's good.
That's I'm not a rat. In the mouth call I use I'm not much on rasp. I sound like a duck when I put some of these newer cut calls in. I use a 2-reed beginner call, I guess you'd call it. 2 reeds, split on each side. That's just the turkey sound. Now, everybody's got the turkey sound they want. I mean, you got your own turkey, you got your own turkey. Everybody's got their own turkey sound. And that's just the sound that appeals to me.
See what he totes that around in, don't you?
What is that?
That's a Anderson
That's a-
aspirin
Oh,
can. That's the way they used to come years ago.
Yeah.
In a little old flip can like that, ready, instead of a bottle. And he's got him some air holes cut in the top of it too.
Let them dry out.
Yes, sir.
And I'm not a big raspy, like I said, on the raspy call, all these different cuts, I sound awful on them. I don't, so.
But Mr. Bowe, you were saying you don't like to call a whole bunch to them anyways.
No.
So it's very much, would you say you kind of covert call, like softer calling to them?
And in the evening hunting, I do just sit around and call soft. And he may come, may gobble, he may not. But if you can get one gobbling, if you get one gobbling in the evening, you got a good chance of killing him. You're probably going to be eating fried turkey breast for supper. That's right. I mean, it's just something about if you can get them gobbling in the evening, it's just, you can kill them. Or seems to be.
Yeah. And also, one thing, kind of talk about taking the temperature of a gobbler and how he's going to respond, whether he comes in quiet or he comes in spitting drumming or he comes in gobbling. A few of the turkeys I killed last year, Coach, they came in quiet. Like I heard them on the roost. They flew down. About an hour and a half later, I was able to catch up with them within a couple hundred yards of that roost tree, and they came in quiet, or they gobbled maybe once and then came in 15, 20 minutes later. But later in the season, when I took my brother out, those turkeys were cut. A handful of those turkeys were cutting us off, doing super soft clucks and yelps and soft purrs. It's amazing just based off the timing of how well they'll respond gobbling to that soft call.
Here's the key to that right there, in my opinion, okay? The timing of the rut, or whatever you want to say, the peak of the breed for that, the first ones that you kill opposed to that little period of time. And during the period of the season, it's different from one particular area where you hunt to the next. But when you get lucky enough to catch it in the peak of that breed and that time right there, that's when they're the most vocal, the most likely to come in, displaying or loud or whatever, because, like you said, it's the peak of the breed for him. And if you're lucky enough to be there when that happens, you get to enjoy it. Now, that doesn't happen but maybe just a few days in the season in that particular area. You might not be there when that happens, when it does. I told you that the thing that bothers me the most, I've never been able to figure out how to be two different places on the same morning. And I'm trying, when you're in a dilemma about where you want to go the next morning, you want to pick this spot or this spot right here, and you can't be in two places at once. You just have to take a shot that you're going to be in the right place at the right morning. Timing, again, about turkey hunting is so important. Being there at the right place and time. And
do you think it's historical, as in that short time range in a certain area when those birds are real vocal, maybe a little bit later in the season? Do you see that every year in those areas the birds are back in there, or is it still kind of hit or miss?
Yeah, I think it could be hit or miss. In areas where the turkey population this year is pretty good. There was a good hatch, maybe year before last, and there's several 2-year-old gobblers in the area, some 3-year-olds, and a lot of turkeys. You know what I'm saying? Then you have a tendency, to hear more stuff. Just like we talked about going to Texas and the competition for the hens and all like that. And the turkeys are a lot more vocal, okay? And when there's not as many turkeys and all like that right there too, in the competition, you just don't hear as much of that, I think. And and it changes from year to year. Some years, some of the places I hunt, the turkeys are a good many of them there, and then maybe the next year there's not as many. And then not because they got killed off, might have changed a little bit.
Now, I want to see if y'all have a good story hunting together. Interesting story, killing a bird, missing a bird, close call. What kind of experiences have y'all had together, kind of hunting and spending time over the last 40 years?
You want to tell him about the one I missed that you called up? Oh, man.
The gobblers, I believe that's probably one of the gobblers turkeys. You talking about the one I'm talking about?
Yeah, well,
Up on the
mountain.
road, okay.
yeah.
Well,
Anyway, me and him
tell it,
go up there that morning, and we drove the golf cart all the way up to the top of the mountain. Turkey gobbles out there about 150 yards. So we get set up, And we think pretty much to ourselves, this ain't gonna take long.
The road bed the old dirt road bed come right up to us. I'm talking about perfect.
And Bo was a little bit to my right and behind me. I was down a little bit lower and closer. But that turkey gobbled probably 3.5 or 4 hours that morning. And I had just started shooting the 20 gauge, and I didn't have any of those real good. I can blame it on that. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have any of the real good shells. But finally, after about 3.5, 4 hours, Bo did a little soft yupping on the tube back there, and he broke. He'd moved back and more, and he broke. And I saw him coming, and anyway,
Come up that
finally,
road bed.
he was walking up the road bed just perfect, and I just flat out missed him. And I ain't gonna tell you what I said, but I did. But he heard me say that. But that was pretty frustrating. But we stayed on him probably 4 hours.
Yeah.
He gobbled intermittently all the time that we were doing this. And you was talking about the turkey made a big leap on you. And he was doing a little short back and forth walk.
Yeah.
He wasn't going far enough in one direction for us to get up and move back to where he had left from, but he would just kind of back and forth. He'd gobble, and then he'd shut up a while, and then he'd gobble down here. But yeah, he did gobble a good bit, but I flat out missed him.
Wasn't it?
And Bo missed one morning with me.
I did.
Yeah.
Come up behind me. Oh Lord.
Oh Lord.
This was
remember
one
them.
of them. Oh me. And that turkey was coming. The one he was coming from the front, and nothing walked right up behind me.
Hey, Bo, grab your diaphragm call real quick.
What?
And just hold it when you're talking.
Oh, okay.
So it don't sound like you got a mouthful of food.
I'm ready for dip skull, man.
He'll be nervous.
Man.
Hey, but
Y'all are just like me and Jacob with the missed stories.
Yeah.
We're sitting here. I feel like it's me and him going back and
That's
forth.
right.
yeah, that
Like,
booger
he
walked
missed
right
one
up
too
behind
one time.
me.
Men, that's the great thing about it. If you miss him clean and you don't cripple him, it's a bad feeling, but it's not as bad a feeling as shooting one and crippling him and letting him get away from you. You know what I'm saying? But if you hunt them enough, you're gonna miss them. I know I had a friend of mine from Georgia. We went hunting one morning over there in Georgia, and I was hunting with him, and he made the statement right before we got to where we were hunting that morning. He said, I had never missed a turkey in my whole life. I never missed one. Well, that particular morning, we get over there, and I called the turkey up over there for him, and he shot at him and missed him. It's a pretty good distance that he missed from him, and I thought to myself, you shouldn't have never said that, you know what I'm saying? 'Cause, when you think you're not going to miss him, like I think I told you I went to Wisconsin that time, and the guys were trying to get me to get in the blind. I didn't care anything about it. But when I got up there that night and we were eating supper, his wife had cooked us good supper. And old boy looks over and he says, I feel sorry for these turkeys up here now that you're up here. And I said, oh, Lord, I know you just jinxed me because I'm not, and I ended up not killing one, But that's just the way it is.
And to me, that's such a part of turkey hunting. Like, I've heard some guys, at least on social media, oh man, I ain't missed a bird in 40 years. Maybe that's the case, but I feel like if you hunt enough, have enough experiences, enough situations, you're going to have an opportunity where something happens. And again, a bird gets away from you. And to me, there are like such strong life lessons there of like what went wrong, what happened. Was it my position? Was it just, arm, leg gave out when I was like getting ready to get on this bird because he was going back and forth between trees for so long before I could get a shot, whatever could happen. But there's a lot of good lessons learned from misses. Like again, my two from this season so far are heartbreaking, which is the exact same situation. Coach, I'm so excited to talk to you now because maybe this will like get me in the right headspace. Because last year when we interviewed Coach, I missed 2 birds. I missed one the day we interviewed Coach. I missed one that morning, which was the second one of the season. So hopefully kind of get me back on the straight and narrow and kind of, staying steady because nothing gets me more excited than a bird coming and gobbling. Big buck, whatever, like that's there's something to that, but something about a turkey coming in. Just this bird, beautiful bird, but it's a turkey. It's not, 180-inch deer gets me so fired up and I lose all control. Okay. Do you guys still have that feeling of excitement when a turkey comes in?
Sure.
After all these years?
Sure.
Yeah.
if you don't get excited and your heart don't beat a little faster when you actually see him, then you probably don't need to be out there doing it. You know what?
I'd like to see the recording on this pacemaker when a turkey comes
yeah.
up. When a turkey comes up, I got a pacemaker here.
Speak about that. Coach brought up your pacemaker to me. I forgot about that part. Talk to us about when they were trying to put the pacemaker in, what side you told them to put it on so you could shoot your gun.
On my left. And of course, I don't know. They may have put it on the left anyway, but I made strict, specific note to tell them to put it on the left side. And that recording, I got one of them monitors, you know. That recording when the turkey's coming up, it's probably.
You got a defibrillator too.
Yeah, I
don't
got
you?
a
He's got two.
defibrillator.
He's got both of them. He got a pacemaker and a defibrillator.
Thank the Lord, I've never had no trouble out of it, and still walk pretty good. I don't, we're talking. Most of our talking's been about pre-70 years old. Now, post 70 years old is you have to kind of alter your tactics a little bit. You don't stum around in the dark as much.
Bo, how old are you now, by the way?
74.
74. What still, okay, with you been doing this for so long, I forgot how many years you said you were turkey hunting,
This is
59?
my 56th year.
56, okay. What still gets you excited about turkey hunting now after doing it for so long?
Everything. I live, we was talking a while ago about people who hunt turkeys, and then you have turkey hunters. One qualification of a turkey hunter is they think about turkeys 365 days a year. I mean, it's not a day, Coach will tell you the same thing. There's not a day goes by that I don't think something about turkeys. I mean, or turkey hunting. My wife will tell you the same thing. But there's not a, it's just a all year hunt. I mean, it just excites me. Can't wait for the next one. And then when spring's out, I can't wait on fall get here.
Yeah, something that gets me tore up about it too. One of y'all mentioned it earlier. Is when you've been working a gobbler, and then especially when you're hunting up in the hardwoods and you hear the leaves and everything, and you hear the old gobbler march, you hear him like he's coming. You just can't see him yet. That's when I usually come apart. But one thing I wanted to talk about also is we've got a bunch of nice vintage turkey calls here in front of us. I want to talk about some of these things, and one of the ones in particular that I was kind of surprised to see is we've had a bunch of guys this spring talking about the Lynch Jet Slate. And you actually have one right here, and I've never even seen one before. I didn't know what they looked like. So I want to get a demo on this call right
Now,
here.
the demo's not going to be good, but I'm going to say this to you. This is one of the first calls that I had. I say one of the first. I told you the first one I had was a tube call that was given to me, but this jet call, I can't remember whether I bought this or how I got this and all, but I sanded this so much that I actually sanded 2 holes in the slate.
Hold it straight up to us. Yeah, you can see the holes going through it. That is,
Okay. And used to, you had to burn the peg over here. The peg used to be a lot longer than this, and instead of sanding it, everybody burned them. And basically, these don't yelp all that good. All we used to do to them was just kind of clucks and just purrs. Not a good yelp, but a yelp. But they're effective. And like I said, for years, the limited amount of calls that you could have, available, there just wasn't that many out there. Like he mentioned, Penn's Woods out of Pennsylvania, the Lynches out of Birmingham and Liberty, Mississippi. There wasn't, like I said, there wasn't a lot of choices out there. But I've had that one put up and I was looking for some stuff to bring up here for y'all, and I found that thing. I said, well, I'll throw it in here and let them see it.
so I'm glad to see it in person because Cuz Strickland, we just interviewed him. He was talking about his Lynch Jet Slate, and he was trying to explain it to us about the square peg. And I didn't understand what he meant by square peg, but now I get it. But he was talking about the first bird he ever got on. He called to it for 2 hours straight, and his hand cramped up. He didn't know what he was doing. Bird kept gobbling. He said his hand cramped up so bad from holding onto that call and running that square peg striker for 2 hours.
And this was it was at least another half inch longer than what it is here. And by burning it to make it sound right, not that I knew what I was doing, but that's the jet.
And then you've got a few different box calls that I know you brought. And what's some of the stories on some of these different, especially, I mean, it's all friction calls except for the tube calls, but on the box calls, we talked about this last year with you, Coach, but when I think of an old school turkey hunter that hunts around here, I always think of a long box, okay? And I know we're going to get to the long box too, but like what are some of these other box calls that you
Now
have?
this particular box here is a Quaker Boy Grand Old Master. Dick Kirby, who's been deceased now for several years, was a great man, great turkey hunter, but a great caller. He was over in Iceland over there in 73 and judging the contest, but they had a little contest here and he picked some boxes up. It's a field grade box that he signed the bottom of. Field grade meaning it was just an average for them, what I would say, sounding call. They rated them according to how they sounded and all like that right there. But it's just like any other box. It just it's got two sides. One side's probably sounds a little bit better than the other, but I don't particularly like the way that sounds.
Mm-hmm.
That's got a little bit better tone to that right there. Again, I think the main thing on anything you do is the cadence. It's not so much the pitch or the sound, up or down. The cadence is the key. Well, that hen's got that little, in the springtime, that little cadence that you want to keep that going a little faster than the gobbler. Usually 3 or 4. You don't usually hear a lot more than that. I just real like he talked about when the turkey hits the ground, but that 3 or 4 note.
Could you show us the cadence again real quick of
Yeah.
like what you mean by that?
It's just like what I call, let's go to the other side again here and let's try to see if we can get it to sound right like we want, but it's just not like a gobbler. Old gobbler, Jake or whatever he is, calking or yelping or whatever you want to call it, it's got a little bit slower, more deliberate sound to it. I think again that cadence is the main thing that's important to me. At least it is to me. When I've heard some awful sounding hens before come walking up, and when I say awful sounding, I first think it was a person because it sounded so bad. But it was a hen. But the main thing, the cadence was the same, but her pitch may be going up and down, and one note may just be terrible. You know what I'm saying? Bad. And you say, there's no way that's a hen turkey. That's got to be a human being over there. Then all at once, here she comes, and you may get to see her start yelping. You know what I mean? And it'll be bad. That's mainly what I think is important is that cadence of that hen yelp. At least it is me, and I try to mimic that when I'm using a mouth call or when I'm using a tube call or whatever I'm doing. If I'm on a slate or aluminum or whatever I'm using, and I try to do that.
I go back to think about Thomas's turkey he killed. So, Coach, my younger brother, who I took out last year, his first year turkey hunting, he killed his 4. He actually just killed his first solo gobbler by himself earlier this season, opening week of Alabama season. And he had actually lost his striker. He can call a pot call pretty good, but all he had was a mouth call, and he got on some gobbling birds, and he threw that mouth call, and he filmed everything. So it wasn't like we had to take him on his word of how he sounded, but he had that mouth call. And, I mean, it reminded me back in high school when I first got my first mouth call. I mean, Andrew said it sounded like a turkey choking on a rubber chicken. But he ended up killing this bird, came in, and it actually had a fantastic hunt. But it was the cadence. Like you listen to it, was that faster pitch kind of cadence. Yeah. It didn't sound great, but also I told him, I'm like, there was all these other guys hunting the same place. They probably sounded great on a mouth call. He was the one hen that sounded rough, and that gobbler wanted to come check out that ugly sounding hen. So it also kind of shows you like the timing's everything too. Like one thing that Todd Bigby talked to us about when we had him interviewed this spring was the idea of hunting a turkey for tomorrow and kind of learning that from Doug Camp and how they would hunt turkeys for tomorrow. You know, if you can't kill him today, figure out where he's going, what he's doing, and then for tomorrow you kind of know where you need to be at.
Be there in
How
hour before daylight.
how much was that a factor for you guys? Because I know, Bo, you talked about that a little bit early on, but how much was kind of hunting a turkey for tomorrow, especially with y'all's old work schedules, how much was that a factor?
Big.
It's always same for me. When Doug said, whatever you do, don't spook him or scare him.
Yeah.
If somebody else don't come in there and mess you up, then you got a chance tomorrow over there. And so you slip out and you come back. But like what Bo said earlier, if you wasn't at the right place this morning, in the morning, you're gonna be in the right place or where you think the right place is
Or
gonna
close. It's getting close.
be. That's right.
And it starts hunting squirrel bed. Get close.
That's right. Hunt squirrel. These slate calls right here that have a hole drilled in them. What's the story on that?
That's just I think that was some of the early slates, and y'all were talking about picking up some old stuff. That first one down there is one of the original Camp, the first slates that he made before he went to the wood bases and all for them.
Could you pick it up and
Oh,
show it
yeah.
to the camera?
And actually, this one right here, I picked that out of about 50 that he had over there at his place.
Here, hold it in your other hand real quick, just be able to see it a little bit better. Interest, okay. Huh.
And he had about 50 of these up here. Now, these are plastic. These are plastic bases for them and all like that right there. The sound chambers, like I said, had the hole in them like a lot of the early ones did. I can't really answer the question of why that is, even though it's got some holes in the bottom of it and all like that right there. They did not sound all that bad or good. Again, most slates, they purred and clucked good. They didn't yelp good. Whereas that D.D. Adams that I bought, the first one from Dick Kirby over there at Iceland in 73, that's the D.D. Adams, the other one that you see there. It had a great yelp to it. Now that's got an acrylic striker. It don't sound good to me today. I mean, it sounds bad. But anyway, I brought that strictly to let y'all see what the D.D. Adams. Now, D.D. Adams at one time was supposedly the best. You know what I'm saying? And that particular one, first one that I got over in Iceland, it had a great yelp to it. And I dropped it, and it has a slate underneath there. Slate on top of slate, sound chamber. And I sent it back to them to fix it. Well, instead of fixing it, they sent me a whole new slate. And it wasn't. And again, you can pick most slates, you can put 25 in a pile right here, and there's going to be one or two that run better than the other one.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, of course, we got the long box. Is that Screaming Hen?
That's my favorite.
Old Screaming Hen, man.
I'm going to fill it out for you.
Yeah.
That's the East Alabama special right
That's
there.
right. And again, I talked about this last time, but in 1993, Doug gave me the first Screaming Hen that I had. Can you see it pretty good? Mm-hmm. And he wrote on here, he says, this box was made for my good friend and hunting buddy Ron Waters on February the 22nd, 1993, Doug Camp, Talladega, Alabama. And I said, Doug, I'm not a big box man. I don't really like a box all that good. And he said, you're going to like this. And that particular year, I used this box, and since then I've always carried a long box with me every day in the woods wherever I go in my scabbard and all like this. Now I retired this one, and Donnie made me another one out of some material I carried to him, and I've used it pretty much everything. The main thing is that sound, that high-pitched sound that it does. That's the sound that you want. And again, that hen cadence and that hen yelp, even though the pitch of this is real high-pitched, and that's really what kind of ignites a gobbler sometimes to gobble on, at that right there. But I know in one of the videos I saw with Todd Bigby and the Drury, Mark Drury, they would call the turkey all the way from first gobble to the gun with a long box. And like I said, they're just a weapon to have. And again, if you got it in your hunting scabbard here in your vest, you can use it. If it's back in the truck or back at the house, you can't use it. And you don't know from day to day, from hunt to hunt, what the particular turkey that you're messing with may like. And a lot of times it may be something different than what they're hearing. If you're in a hunting, say you're in a hunting club, and there's a lot of people hunting in there, probably 9 out of 10 of the guys hunting in the hunting club are using mouth calls. Might have a box, might have a slate of that, but they blowing a mouth call. Well, them turkeys, they hear the mouth calls every day. They tend to be less effective. That's when I like things that are different. The tube, the wing bone, the trumpet, the yelper. But like again, the thing that I said I like about the tube is, to me, it's easier because you're blowing it rather than sucking.
A lot of hunters just use the tube for a locator, and you can call them right to the gun with the tube, and they'll want, a lot of them just want to locate, but they're deadly.
Well, that's a good point, because especially when it comes to tube calls, there's a lot of guys out there that use them just for locating and cutting and being real loud on them. But like, Coach, I know last year you did it on the podcast, and Mr. Bowe, you just did it earlier. You can soft call on a tube call if you can learn how to do the cadence right, and you can learn how to get the right vocalizations. You can soft call on them very easily.
Yeah. I won't hardly take a call hunting with me if I can't call soft on it. I like it. I always kind of lean toward the, most people call too loud and too long and too often.
By the way, how does, especially Mr. Smith, how does patience play a factor for you? I'm going to go through the 3 Ps real quick, but how does patience play a factor for you?
I'll tell you stuff. Patience. Several years ago, there was a gobbler up on London Mountain, and the night before, I bent over to turn the water on in the shower, in the tub, and back caught me, lower back. Man, I couldn't go, but when come morning, I got to go turkey hunting. I mean, so I took off there and I parked the truck and walked out the road the best I could and kind of dropped off side the hill there and found me a place and sat down. Turkey gobbled and he flew off. He answered me every time I'd answer. But he was steady going yonder way, gobbling, steady going yonder way. And I said, well, I'm here, I can't move around much. My back's killing me. So I just slid down a tree and took me a nap. And about 9 or so, I heard him coming back. And I just let him come. He got down there about 100 yards more, and I gave him 4 little old yips. And next thing you know, he's standing there with me. But he come back. A lot of people say that, and it works. If you'll just be patient, just patience, and stick with it. I was hunting one down the lower part of the county. Coach mentioned this a while ago, I think. I hunted him 20 straight days before I killed him. And I went in there the first morning, and there was 4 turkeys gobbling. And I stayed in there, and he gobbled. I didn't get him. Went home. I went back the next morning. There was 3 turkeys gobbling. Went back the next morning. There was 2 turkeys gobbling. Went back the next morning. There was 1 turkey gobbling. And I hunted that joker 20 straight days, and he was just about driving me crazy. I mean, I'd go home at night and get in the recliner and say, well, what am I going to do tomorrow to get this joker? And finally, on the 20th morning, now, from the, 4th day till the 20th day, when I'd go in there, he was the only one gobbling. Them other turkeys hushed. Well, the 20th day I killed him, I went in there and set up just like I'd done a dozen times, and it was just as easy. Come right in, I killed him. Well, took him home, He weighed 15 1/4 pounds, had an inch and a half spur, longest spur I ever killed, but he weighed 15 1/4 pounds. And so I went home and I went back the next morning to the same place, walked in there, it got daylight, there's 3 turkeys gobbling. Now how they know that he's gone? Maybe because he didn't gobble earlier, but when there was 3, and I killed one of them too. But how they know that them 3? The next morning I went back in there, and them 3 turkeys was back gobbling. It's strange. They're
Killed the bully turkey.
huh?
You killed that bully turkey. The
Yeah.
one keeping them all quiet.
Yeah, he was 15 1/4 pound. He was a bronze turkey. Now, he wasn't. I always heard the old original turkey back years ago was a bronze turkey. It wasn't black, dark turkey. It was bronze turkey. And this one was bronze color.
Interesting. Like the ones before they restocked.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
But now, what I've heard is a lot of the restocking come from these 3 counties, Talladega, Clay, and I don't know that, but a lot of the restocking program come from because the 6 counties we got in the fall are basically where the old stock, Clark County, Clay, Talladega, and Randolph. That's where the old stock of turkeys was, and I think a lot of the stocking come from here. But that was old bronze turkey.
Yeah, we were talking to Todd Bigby about that the other day. We keep bringing him up because we interviewed him, I think, 2 days ago now. But those parts of Alabama that have in our opinion, the richest turkey hunting heritage are this area and then some of those places over in West Alabama because it's rough and the turkeys just never got killed out of the swamps and the mountains, basically. Yeah. And so when you get around those areas, you start finding places where there are 2nd, 3rd generation turkey hunters, where in other parts of the state, your guys our age are the 1st generation of turkey hunters that there are in that area.
I wondered what, I think I mentioned it earlier, the turkeys we used to kill, 17, 18 pounds. I mean, 18 pounder was a big turkey. And now, gosh, you may limit out and there may not be a turkey under 20 pounds. I mean,
Right.
But I just wonder if it's because there's so much fields or so much, I don't know. Well, I guess probably. I think it's corn.
I think feeding corn
I think it's
a
corn.
lot, and I think turkeys like that deer supplement as much as the deer do, the pellets and stuff, and I think it has a tendency to, make them bigger, have them bigger weight, stuff like that.
The turkey's out hammering the protein,
Yeah.
getting big.
But heredity in turkeys about size and beard length and double beards and spur length and all like that. It's just like, to me, like heredity in human beings and all like that. If you ever in the area and you kill a double bearded turkey or triple bearded turkey, usually there's more than one. It's kind of heredity. You see a place where you see bearded hens, you're gonna see usually more than one bearded hen, and things like that. But most all gobbler, if you in a season, the lengthwise of a gobbler's length of his foot is usually pretty consistent. They might be a few inch, something different, but the size of the legs sometimes. If you notice them when you kill one, you say, God, this turkey's foot's pretty good size, around or whatever diameter. Bigger foot seem like than normal, maybe just an inch longer than what you normally see. And you don't know whether that's heredity or what he's saying, whether they're out of some of the old original stock, which were not as big a turkeys and didn't weigh as much and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And
Go ahead. I'll tell you another thing that I've noticed. If you kill turkeys got 11, 12-inch beard. Now I've killed 2 that had 12, but 11, the longer 11, 12-inch beard, if you'll notice, I've noticed that from the knee to the foot on their lower foreleg will be 2 inches longer than a normal turkey. If he's got a long beard, his leg from the red part of his leg from his knee down to the ground is 2 inches longer than an average turkey. And the reason I think that is when he's bending over, his legs are 2 inches longer. He's not wearing his beard off, dragging it as much. That's the reason the turkey some turkeys have longer beard. Y'all notice that next time you kill one got a long beard, notice to see if his leg ain't 2 inches longer, 2 inches longer from the knee down than it is than an average normal turkey would.
Interesting.
I want to check that out. I haven't killed one. The longest one I've ever killed is beard wise is just over 11 inches, but I had to look at that. Still get all the feet and everything, all the legs.
Yeah, the last big one I shot was a 11.5-inch beard, and I still got his whole legs in the.
I bet if you look, his leg is longer than a normal turkey. His leg will be an inch or two longer.
I want to ask both of y'all, or both of you, and Coach, I want to start with you. Are you guys more of a individual? Are you more of a beard guy or a spur individual, like longer spurs or longer beards? What do y'all have one that you favor?
I like them both. I like a long beard and I like a long spur, and I mean, still, they're both trophies. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the great thing about a turkey. Old deer's just got one rack over there, you know, and the turkey's got two trophies.
Tell him about the hat. The guy asked you had some 3/4 inch on there. You told him
One time I was up there at Nashville years ago, and I had my hat on, and this guy was older than me, and like I said, I'm there now. I'm an old guy, but he come up to me and he said, "Son, you ain't got no long spurs on that hat, do you?" And I thought to myself, and I guess I was kind of being ugly and kind of cocky at the same time. And I don't know why I said it, but I looked at him and I said, where I come from, I said, a turkey don't live long enough to get a long spur. And we kind of got a laugh out of that right there. But, you know, and that's the truth, you know. Most of the time, a turkey don't live long enough to get a long spurs.
I like spurs.
Me too.
I like length of them, long spur.
Yeah, that is the fun part about running up on a turkey too. Is you see his beard, and he's flopping and everything. And a lot of times you can't see his feet right off the bat, and then he settles down and you see the spur, and you're like, oh
yeah.
Yeah,
That'll get you excited, doesn't it?
Yes.
about to do a backflip in the woods.
Y'all might not want to do this, but I'm going to mention this to you and talking about stories and telling. And maybe he'll tell you the story, but each person has one turkey in their life that stands out above all the rest. The story of how you killed him and what he was when you killed him. And I think that to me is important. I can remember the one that I was wanting to talk about. I'm pretty sure I know he's got one that he likes to talk about, about seeing him or in what he was when you actually ended up killing him and how you killed him and the story behind it. But I've got one in my life that stands out above all the rest.
Well, what's the story? I want to hear
Is that
it.
what you
Yeah.
want to hear? Okay. Well, this particular turkey was on a big hunting club that I was in. A lot of people trying to kill him. A lot of people hunted him. These turkeys were tough. And he didn't gobble a whole lot. 1 or 2, 3 times a morning, maybe 4. And everybody hunted him from the main road up there, off the main road. And I always went around to the backside, and I came this particular morning. I was going up there to him, and he was up on the ridge, and I was coming in from the lower side over there. And about halfway up the ridge, I bumped 2 young gobblers out of the tree. And they went to putting and flying right off up toward the hill towards him. So I just stopped right where I was, and I said, you wasting your time going after that turkey right now. You need to, go somewhere else. Come back. So I did. And I got back down there in that afternoon about 2:30. And I started up the same way I did that day. I went around and I started up the hill there. And I got up there and, and there was some fresh licks around there. And I said, smart thing to do is if you go right on up there on the top, you're gonna bump this turkey before you go. And so I sat down and I did what I like to do in the afternoon. I pulled out my cutter and I cut to him just as loud, as hard as I could to see where he's cuts and shut up. And it was a particularly dry hardwoods and all through there. And I heard him, when I could hear back in, I heard him come off the mountain walking in the leaves, making a lot of racket coming down through there. And he got up there and all I could do was hear him drumming. And this went on for 3 hours. And finally, I saw just his back up there on the little point up there, and I could see a little bit of his fan, and got a glimpse of him and all. And he just stayed in that one place over there, and I wasn't having to look. So I took a tube out like that, and I turned at an angle back down here like this right here, and I just yelped real soft on it, and I turned it around a little bit. Saw him come out, and I saw him standing up there with his head and neck stuck out. And he started and took one step behind the tree. And I said, I'm going to kill you when you come out the other side. So I had my gun right here ready to go. And instead of walking out the front side of the tree, he stuck his head out the back side like I'm doing, like this right here, and looked down the hill, dead right where I'm sitting. And I've only called 2 times. One time when I cut to him, the other time when I, did the soft yelp. And he's looking like that, dead down the hill at me. And I'm thinking to myself, you are fixing to give me the slip, and if I'm going to kill you, I better go ahead and shoot now. So I took it in a deep breath, and I said, boom, and he just disappeared. And I'm 30 yards down the hill, and when I try to stand up, both my legs had gone completely to sleep. And I couldn't move. I was just like a paralyzed person. So it took me several minutes for me to get my feeling back in my legs where I could walk up the thing. And I didn't know whether I had missed him or what. And when I get up there to the top, he's laying bottom upwards like this right here with both his legs. But I'm looking over here, and the spurs are like 1 9/16 inches. So the longest spur I'd ever killed. And I was excited, but the beard was over here on the side, and when I pulled the beard around, it was a 13-inch beard. It was wide as 3 fingers. And it was one of those hanging up over the door that y'all could see from where y'all were sitting over there. So in one particular time, and I got so excited, it was late in the afternoon, and had a pretty good little walk. I had an old Blazer truck, and I wished I still had it back again, but I got to my truck, and there was a little store up the road there, and I knew it closed, and I wanted to weigh him to see what he weighed. Before I got there, and I stuck my gun up at Remington 1100, stuck it up against the tree, jumped in the truck, took off with my turkey, and I get up there to the store, and we weigh the turkey in, and I realized then, hey, Coach, you left your gun down there against that tree down there in the woods, because I got so excited about that turkey, but he ended up being 13-inch beard and an 1 9/16 spurs. Mm-hmm. And that's the one that if you say one turkey in your life you'll never forget or always remember, that's the one that always sticks out to me is number 1 on the list.
Oh, that's awesome.
And the way you killed him too.
Bo, what about you?
I probably just told you the story about that 120 days.
Yeah.
Legendary turkey.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Now,
Of course, there's a lot of them. I remember a lot of them, but
You
there's a lot of good memories. 56 years worth of them.
that's
the one thing that I do want to mention is, have you ever heard of swimming for turkeys?
Crossing a creek? Or-
Swimming,
I mean,
going swimming for a turkey.
no.
Well, you're looking at a man that did it, and this happened in 2008. In 2006, I had open heart surgery, so I'm 2 years out of open heart surgery. So I'm by myself. April the 8th, I believe, April the 8th, I'm hunting down there on the hunting club, and it's land and water, land and water, land and water, backwater right here on the lake. And this particular turkey, he gobbled one time in the afternoon when he flew up on the roost. So the next morning, I'm over there pitch black dark, I'm sitting in his lap. Well, he flies down, but he's got a bunch of hens with him. Well, finally, here come the hens and here come the gobbler, but he's back behind him and he's in a full strut. And the one disadvantage of the tube, once you drop it down and you don't have anything in your mouth, you don't have any way of getting him out of a strut sometime. Well, I couldn't get him out of the strut. And he kept getting closer and the hens getting closer. So finally I said, I got to shoot him in full strut. Didn't want to. So when I busted him, he fell off the side of the hill and I heard him go down the hill, but I heard him hit the water down at the bottom of the hill. So I run down the bottom of the hill and where he's at, he's about 2 yards out in the water. And where I'm standing, when the first step in the water is over my waist deep and the second step's over my head. And he flounders out in the middle of the slough about 15 yards and dies. And so I'm sitting here 15 yards from a turkey. He's out in the slough there with his wings out and he's dead. He's floating. And I'm thinking to myself, and this is a real good turkey. I mean, he had a great beard, a great set of spurs on him. And I'm saying, what am I going to do? I mean, my turkey's going to get out there. And I said, pretty soon he's going to sink. I said, I don't know who to call or what to do. I said, the only thing I know to do is just strip down and swim out there and get him. So April 8th, 2 years out of having open heart surgery, I just go ahead and skin on down and slide in the water. And let me tell you something, fellas, it was cold. And I breaststroked out to my turkey, got him by the left hand, which I couldn't do today because of my shoulders anyway. And I side stroked back to the bank, set him up on the bank, and had a hard time getting out of that steep bank and got him over there. And I wore an old pair of sweatpants under my camo pants, and I dried him off, dried myself off and dried him off. Nothing looks worse than an old turkey when he's soaking wet.
It's a wonder some bass fishermen hadn't come around that point and seen you.
Yeah. Soaking wet. But anyway, I got my turkey, but of course, I wouldn't tell my wife anything about that for probably 2 years before I got enough nerve to tell her what I finally did, because I got to thinking about it. You know, if I'd have had a cramp or if I'd have had another heart attack or something had happened, I'd have went to the bottom and nobody'd ever found me. You know what I'm saying? But a turkey hunter, that just goes to show you that a turkey hunter will do some crazy, crazy, crazy things, you know, to get his turkey.
That's awesome. Man, the things we do for birds, man.
That's exactly right.
Things we do for birds. I know that you fellas were talking about wanting to get out this evening, so we're getting close to wrapping this up. But one thing that caught my eye, this is totally random, is that a giant mountain oak acorn right there?
Okay, I got a story. That wasn't. I said I was putting all this stuff in the bag. Before I come over here, and this was laying up there, and I picked it up and throwed it. Now, that's plastic.
Okay.
That's plastic. All right. Family's got about 40 acres of land across front of the house. And every fall, me and my wife, we get out and walk, and we got a little section of hardwoods over there, and I'll go over and check it. It's mostly red oaks there, but anyway, we go over and check the oaks, and we got about 3 or 4 white oaks, and I'll go check them. And well, she was at a some little old store she was in, and she found this. Well, in fact, she got 3 of them. She didn't tell me about it. She brought them home. So we're over in the woods, walking around, checking acorn trees, you know, and we're walking. Well, she's walking around over here. Well, she has them in her pocket. And she walks around over and she takes it, she pitches it out on the ground, them 3 acorns. And I'm over here and looking around. She said, well, honey, says, what kind of acorn is this? And so I walk over and I get about as far from your foot there, and I look down and I see this pound-sized acorn there on the ground there. and and it just for a minute there, I didn't. It looks real. I mean, most especially from over here. And boy, she got me good. And she's a prankster anyway. She loves to pull. She's about 5 foot tall, 100 pound. Loves to pull a prank.
Man, I saw that thing. It got me.
But
saw it laying there.
I had it laid out. I wasn't really going to talk about it because I had it in. I just throwed it in the bag when I was coming. I said, well, I'll tell the story about that.
I thought that was just a giant daggum.
No, it's styrofoam, but boy, it looked real, and my eyes got that big around. I said, God, what an acre.
I was sitting here thinking, man, a turkey would choke on that. Like, that's impressive. That'd be like a jackpot if you're a gray squirrel.
Yeah.
Gray squirrel.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Well, as a point of here wrapping up with you two gentlemen, greatly appreciate y'all first off coming over here and Coach, I appreciate you kind of help setting this up, this conversation. One of the last things I want to ask you guys is for some of the new turkey hunters that watch and listen to the podcast, there's quite a few out there who haven't really had any kind of success quite yet. What would you tell them to focus on for this season in order to try to build confidence for future seasons? And again, with the mindset of hunting a turkey for tomorrow, what would you recommend for someone new getting started turkey hunting now to kind of focus on?
What would I focus on? I would just have to say, just go. Just go hunting. Learn what you can. It ain't easy. It ain't going to be easy. You're going to learn from your mistakes. But just go and go as often as you can go. And experience is the best teacher. And I just hang in there and keep going. Now, me, I would probably say don't wear a call out. Set up, try to set up on him, and don't wear a call out on him, and because you can educate one pretty quick. That's just go hunting.
Coach, what about you?
I told y'all last time when we come here, enjoy the experience, enjoy the woods, enjoy all of the different things that you've seen or get to see in the turkey woods in your lifetime. I wished that as in my life, when I'm in my time in the woods, that I had had the privilege of having somebody run a camera to see what I've seen in the woods. And all it is now is a story because there's no pictures or anything to go with it, but the things that I've got to experience. So when you're out there in the turkey woods, it's the icing on top of the cake is the kill, But the other part of the thing is so much more really important and all. And like I said, we all put too much emphasis on the kill and getting to kill the turkeys when you ought to just put the emphasis on the enjoyment and I say sharing it, to the younger, the generation of people that are coming on, because you guys were talking about what y'all learned was from videos, and there were no videos going on when me and Bo came around. There was a few books around, that guys had written, that you could get a chance to read, Tom Kelly's 10th Legion and some of his earlier books. And Dave Harbor had a book out there called Hunting the Wild Turkey. Wasn't that the name of Dave Harbor's book? And there wasn't a whole lot of stuff around there, you know what I'm saying? But like I said, it's so much more than killing. So much more than killing. I mean, like I said, I wished I could go back and do, some things over again that I've done wrong. We've all been guilty of that, putting too much emphasis on killing, how many you killed, and what, this, that, and the other. And that's the the wrong outlook to look at it. Calling contests I think are good and all like that, but I think sometimes a calling contest they think it's like that in the woods. You know what I'm saying? But it's not.
You ain't seen that this call I made. It's got I had never used it, made out of walnut. It's got HSWRB. And that stands for the 5 people that's probably meant the most to me in my turkey hunting career. Henson, Smith, Waters, Robinson, and Bonner.
That's
That's
good
the
then.
Royal Flush turkey hunters right there.
Yeah,
And
that's good.
that's Kenneth Henson, Smith, Ron Waters, Purvis Robinson, and Lee Bonner. They all,
We got to tell you this one last story. We got time to tell this one last story.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the best turkey hunters, best men that you ever want to count is the guy called Purvis Robinson. Purvis Robinson was Junior Robinson, the guy that did Southland's cousin.
Yeah.
But he lived over in Ashland. He was retired from the power company. He'd had some health problems, heart problems and all like that. But he was an outstanding person. If you ever went over there to visit him or whatever, you talked turkey, but before you'd leave, he had to give you something. He'd always want to give you something.
Yeah.
But the way that he actually passed, and Bo can attribute this, he was turkey hunting by himself, and he knew where he was hunting, and Purvis's wife knew where he was hunting. But this particular night, Purvis didn't come in. He didn't come in from hunting. So Purvis's wife called Bo up, and Bo and
Larry Williams.
his son-in-law went looking for him, and they found him in the woods, and he was deceased. And they got him and brought him up.
I wasn't I was in the woods looking for him when they found him. And you want to go ahead and tell him?
And I'll let you enter in and tell it. But anyway, when they get him home, and they know that when Purvis always killed a turkey, he'd take the shell and put it in his hunting coat. And when they got him home or whatever, before they did that, they got to looking, they found that empty shell in his hunting coat.
He always had a habit of when he'd put the shell, he'd put it in his hunting pocket.
Right.
And there was an empty hull in his pocket, so they knowed he'd killed the turkey. So they went back the next day. Darren, his son-in-law, went back the next morning, and when it got daylight, and they found the gobbler up there.
That he killed.
He had got up from the tree. Betty, his wife, is a sweet lady. As a matter of fact, he passed away 29th day of March. But 20 years ago today. 20 years ago this year. And she called me crying, and she said, if they ever don't come in, says call Bo Smith, Larry Williams, says they'll know. Well, Darren, their son-in-law, they got up there, and he got up and probably went about 10 feet and fell. And that's where we found him.
Had a heart attack.
Had a heart
He
attack.
had a heart problem. Yep, but
But they went back the next
Way
day.
to go.
Went back the next day and found a turkey up there about 30 yards.
Oh man.
And I think they mounted the turkey, didn't they?
And up there in that room, all them pictures I got up over there, there's one of him over there with his dog Rusty. He had a little dog there, a beagle or whatever he was. I had him there, and a picture of him and the turkey he had killed over there. And like I said, he was a great gunsmith. He's got fixed my guns, one of something. But if you went to his house, he's always going to give you something. You couldn't leave there. Hey, coach, take this with you. And he'd give you a call or
Go try this gun out.
Go try this out. You know what I mean? When my shotgun messed up, he took his trigger housing out of another Remington 1100, put it in there. So now you're going to have to get you another one at the end of the year. You know what I'm saying? But just them kind of people.
He could burn a slate up too now.
And, you know, like me and him mentioned all the legends and the people of turkey hunting, or that I call the experts. All them guys that I know are deceased because they are. I mean, them guys are gone. You know, you read about them and hear about them in magazines, but me and Bo actually got to know them kind of guys. You know what I mean? When he talk about people like, you know, Dick Kirby, Ben Rogers Lee, them kind of guys, you know, and there's so many more. Doug Kemp, Shorty Bigby. And, you know, a lot of people never heard of people like Shorty Bigby. But, gosh, I was lucky I got to hunt with them guys. Them guys got to teach me and show me and share. It's like we shared some stuff with y'all that y'all get to use. One day, you're gonna get to share some of that, maybe with your own son or your own whatever it is. And to me, that's the thing about it. You passing on the tradition to somebody else, but we all sharing information that we've accumulated or whatever, whether it be from somebody else or just something we've experienced to get to do. And it's just something that books, right? People writing books and all, like Doug wrote the books, but a lot of the stories that he had for the publisher to put in the book, publisher didn't want to put them in there. So he put something else in there, all the good stuff. And that book right there, that's one it's out of print now, but you can find a copy of it, but it's a know-how book. I mean, it ain't nothing fancy about the way he wrote it, but it's got some good stuff in there.
That's awesome. And that gentleman passed away doing what he loved too.
That's right.
I mean,
That's right.
Not a bad way to go.
That's right.
Absolutely. So, well, gentlemen, I greatly appreciate y'all letting us come down here and doing this podcast with you both. Thank you for coming on. First time doing
I didn't
it.
know what to expect when I got here, but it's been good.
Absolutely. And
And it's always good to get to talk turkey.
That's right.
for sure. And again, we have a lot of season left, so I'm sure hopefully y'all have a great rest of your season. And also, for all the listeners out there and the viewers, if you enjoy the episode, this is definitely one to kind of share with some friends, but also taking notes down and remember some of these stories, because guys like you all, y'all have a lot of experience that, our generation does not have. And it's amazing to be able to sit down with you two and hear some of these stories and know how, but also turkey hunting does not have to be complex. It can be a one-on-one simple approach that just takes a lot of time, patience, and
That's
woodsmanship.
what it's all about.
Exactly. So, gentlemen, thank y'all again for joining us. And for all the listeners and viewers out there, thank y'all for watching and listening. We'll catch you back here on the next episode from the Southern Outdoorsman Podcast. And remember, guys, y'all stay Southern.